The commands that you will use most for cleaning up misalignments are either pull to room or align to line. So pull to room is most of the time I use it on a one floor, but because when you have multiple floors and you want to pull to room, usually you see cases like this that rooms are not necessarily fully aligned, so it's a little bit tricky. But if I want to do that, if I select it like this, the first room that I select on this side will be the reference room, and everything else will be pulled to that room. So I can say pull to room and pull whatever within, like, 60 centimeters from that base room, run, and now everything got pulled to that single room. So the first room in the selection is going to be referenced, and it's a little bit hard to select that too. So what you can do instead is, I press Ctrl Z to go back, is you can create an alignment line and align all the rooms to that line. So to do that, you can either go ahead, select one room and go find one edge and go to the middle, and then you can see you can double click and it will add an alignment line. So this is what we call an kind of an infinite alignment line. So it takes through the whole model, and in this case it will be fine, but in some cases you might want not to use this, because if you have the whole line and you have, let's imagine this room was a smaller coming here, and then you do an alignment here, and then the alignment also happens here, which you didn't want to change. So you want to be careful about that. So for that not to happen, there is another option here, which is called local alignment line. So I can just click down here, and then this one I go and click on an edge, and it creates an alignment line for that edge. What I can do, I can also, I can also move this, right? And I usually hold down shift, so it basically the direction stays the same. It's like pressing F8 in Rhino. So now I can select all this, and now I can select this command here, which is align, and I say whatever is within half a meter, align. And I don't need the snap vertices for this case. Snap vertices is useful to run an additional step if you have cases, for example, if you're aligning two rooms that they're just like, multiple segments. So for this case we don't need this. I just remove it, and then I run this, and this should be aligned, and now you can see all this rooms are basically on top of each other and cleaned up. So I can do the same thing here, right? Again, I'm going, for this case I'm going just to use this. I'm going to move it here, half in the middle, and here actually I can do this and that at the same time. So I can run an alignment, so I can use it twice. So let's run this. This is aligned, and then let's select this and run this. Be careful about the numbers that you choose, because if the number is too large, you might see some of the edges that you didn't want to move also gets aligned, and you don't want that to happen. So okay, this is solved, that's solved. Let's go to this beauty here and solve this one. So the way to do this is, again, find the room that you think is the right one for as a reference. So I can select any of this. I select this and then hover my mouse halfway, and now I can select everything from here to here and align them. And I'm going to select a larger number so to get all this also cleaned up. And if you don't have a sense of the scale, you can go here and click on show grid up here, and grid size is half. So this should give you like around 1 meter, right? Is something that we can cover everything, or maybe even 0.8. So I'm going to select everything here. And select 0.8, and you see this is all cleaned up for all the 3 floors with one single click. I'm going to do the same here. And use the same command, run, and everything is cleaned up on that side too. Let's press Ctrl S. for saving it, I'm going to use Alt and O for orthogonality, and you see now I have no issues. Everything is actually fixed except for this small one here that we saw. So let's go also fix this one too. So I'm going to select this edge of the facade for the whole 3 floors, and this should clean up all these things here too. So I'm going to be careful, like make sure you select the whole thing. So if you move some rooms in one level, like you want to move it everywhere, so you don't want to end up creating new gaps. So I'm going to select a smaller number, like 0.5. Just be careful. So this is 0.5 meter, so this is cleaned up, this is cleaned up. We have a case here that we have to get to, but this is all cleaned up. For example, I was talking about this, right? So I select that, so this is also aligned. For this case, this is a good one to use pool room because there's only one, and this is also cleaned up. So I'll select this one first, select, hold down shift, select that room second, pull it, run, and then I'm going to clean this up too by clicking on this join coplanar faces. Let's select the whole thing and run join coplanar faces and run save. So now I have everything. Run this again. I still remember that I showed you, like, we have to fix the outside, so let's run it again. And now you see, like, all the interior ones are resolved. All the issues that we see, all the small ones are, for example, this one, this is for the facade, right? Like this one also should be similar because there's a small gap. So to fix all of those, I'm going to select the 3rd level. Again, it's up to you. You can go back and forth. So let me right click, select all, delete. And select a level. Make sure you select a level that is already cleaned up. So for example, here in this case, I have this one, which when I select, this is room 219. So this is on the 2nd floor. So this is not a good case, right, for you to select. So I can go to levels. Let me go turn off level 2. And yeah. And then the difference between level 1 has that thing going in, so it's not that useful. So I'm going to just keep level 3 on top visible. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to select all the rooms here. I'm going to use this command that we haven't used so far, create boundary, and make sure, I mean, it doesn't matter because they're not holes in this model, but I do exclude holes. And then for merge distance, I select 0 because everything is clean. So if, for example, you had larger gaps, then you want to have a larger merge distance so it doesn't go through those. And now that I run this, it will give me the whole line around this. So I could have gone and, you know, like aligned all this thing in the exterior to simplify them a little bit more. Up to you. If that's what you want to do, you can do that level of cleanup. Or even if you're an ISVE user, probably before doing this, you wanted to use this command, right, to snap to grid. So maybe those are smaller than your grid, so they will be removed already, right? But I'm trying to keep it a little bit more complex from geometry-wise, so you can see it works even for these cases. Of course, if you simplify the geometry a little bit more, it's easier to run it. So now if I go to level 2, and let me turn off level 3 and make level 2 my current. Now you will see that, so that's the same, but for example here, it's not the same. If I also turn on level 1, you see level 1 is also not exactly the same. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to select all of this, level 1 and level 2, right? And then I'm going to use the same align command. This time is going to align it to this, polyline. And then while I'm running this, I'm going to also select the snap vertices. The snap vertices is useful if after the alignment happens. So I mean, this case, this is aligned this way, but if the alignment happens and there's a vertices closed, it will just go all the way and snap to that vertices to keep it clean. So now let's go here and run this. And this is going to take a little bit longer because you have all this polyline, right? And then I'm going to run this too to clean up. So now if I zoom in, all of this should be cleaned up. All of this should be cleaned up. So the whole thing is cleaned up on a single thing, but you can see here we had something happen. So this room snapped here instead of this, right? And created a line that's not perpendicular. So for this one, I'm going to quickly fix it using a new alignment, right? So let me first select that polyline and close it. Oh, and by the way, if you have issues selecting them, you can also select them from here from the menu. So this is the boundary that we created, so I can select it from there too and delete it. For this particular case that happened, I can basically come here, and by now you should know the command, right? How to do this, create this, and then run the alignment and run, and here you go. So this is also cleaned up. Now if I turn on the third level, all the levels visible, select everything and run this, the model is cleaned up. So there are none of those smaller things, small misalignments between all the floors. One thing to keep in mind is, I don't know if I already said it, but you don't want to clean up the model too much, right? Depending on the software that you're using, if this is not a problem, then you don't spend time to clean things up. But and in some cases, for example, if you export to Energy Plus or OpenStudio and you have edges that are very tiny and will be aligned depending on the tolerance, we clean them up in the process. But again, if you have a clean model, then of course you're going to save a lot of time when you run simulation because you are not going to get random errors, and also the model is reliable. So